Jenna. Welcome to Bookmas Day 6. Today is Christmas Eve, which means tomorrow is Christmas Day. I am so ridiculously excited for Christmas. It's not funny. I literally went snooping under the Christmas tree yesterday because I'm legit 5 years old. There are more presents under there for me than I thought there would be. Not the point of this video though. Today I am going to be doing my top 12 books of 2019. This was a really hard list for me to create because looking back on my reading year, I didn't have a lot of 5-star reads. I was giving out 5 stars really sparingly, and the majority of 5-star reads were actually for books in the same series or for rereads, and I didn't really want to include all of those in this list. So there's only like 4 books on this list that have 5 stars and the rest are just all 4-star reads, but they were still some of my favorite books of the year. Like I said, this is Bookmas Day 6, and if you don't know what Bookmas is, it was created by Hailey over on the channel Hailey in Bookland. I will leave a link to her channel in the description box below. She's doing something like 21 videos this December. I don't know, I'm really behind in all of her Bookmas videos. I don't know what video she's up to, and I don't know how many she's actually doing, but I do kind of a mini Bookmas in that I just do 6 videos and they are all relating to my top lists of the year. So without further ado, let's get started on my top reads of 2019. Okay, so coming in at number 12, we have 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott with Mike Dougherty and Tobias I don't know. This book I picked up because I was in the biggest reading slump of my life, and I decided, you know what, I just need to go into QBD, buy a new book and read it all in one sitting to get me out of my reading slump, and this was the book that I chose. I thought it would be a really fast read, and it was. It was kind of an emotional one, but not as emotional as I was expecting, which I actually really liked. I don't love contemporaries, as you all probably know, and yet this one really resonated with me because it wasn't as depressing, but also it wasn't as like happy-go-lucky as a lot of contemporaries seem to be nowadays. This one did at least have a substance and had a reason why it was so sad, but I did really love this one. I still haven't actually watched the movie yet. I have plans to watch the movie, I just haven't got around to it, but I really did enjoy the book. Coming in at number 11, we have Nexus by Sasha Alsberg and Lindsay Cummings. This is the sequel and final book to, what's the first one called? Zenith, the Zenith duology. And I know that the Zenith book got absolutely torn apart on BookTube, and you know, but I really enjoyed Zenith, and I was really looking forward to picking up Nexus, and this one is so much better than the first book. They've really grown as authors, and the story has really developed into something that was insane, and I loved it. I loved the characters, I loved the story, I love where they took this one, and I'm really sad that it's over, but I'm really excited to read more from them in the future. I think they're both working on stuff at the moment individually. I know Lindsay has like 5 other books out, so I should probably get on those, but this one I really did enjoy. I thought it was a really nice ending to the duology, and I really liked it, even though most people probably didn't even give it a go because they didn't like Zenith. Coming in at number 10, we have one of our YA Circle Book Club books of the month, and that is Viper by Bex Hogan. This is the first book in a new trilogy. It is a pirate trilogy. I don't know when pirates became a thing again, but I'm super into it because I love pirates. I love them so much. And this one followed Marianne as she sort of went on her way to becoming a pirate. I don't remember a lot of what happened in this book, but I do remember absolutely loving it. I remember there was this really weird like interlude where she just sort of settled down with some farmers and was like, yep, this is my life now, and then it all got turned upside down. And I remember just sitting there being like, in what universe did you think settling down as a farmer was a good idea? But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed how it ended, and I'm really looking forward to picking up the sequel next year. Funnily enough, next up in number 9 we have another pirate book, and that is Seafire by Natalie C. Parker. This one follows an all-female pirate crew. They're awesome, love them to pieces, and they're really badass girls. The story was a lot of fun, and I really like pirates apparently. I really enjoyed this one for being a pirate book. I loved getting to see the interactions between these girls who really are just a family, and that ending, like, I don't remember everything that happened in this book because obviously I have read quite a few books since then, but I do remember the ending really like sharply in my mind, and I'm just sitting here like, I need to read the sequel, which I own, I just haven't read yet because I'm like, I know how this one ended and it didn't end well for anybody, so I need to know what happens next. Coming in at number 8 is a book that should be of no surprise to anybody who knows me at all. That is Frozen 2 Forest of Shadows by Camilla Benko. This is the tie-in novel for Frozen. It's set between Frozen 1 and 2, and it's meant to bridge the gap between the 2 films, and it bridges the gap so well. I love Frozen. I'm actually obsessed with it, which I think all of y'all know at this point. It's my life. So when I found out this book was a thing, I was like, I need to read this. And it's a middle grade, so it was really easy to get through, but it was so good. And then I went and saw the film and I was like, I can see why it bridged the gap. I can see themes from this novel that like then continue on into the film, which was just phenomenal for me, and I loved it. There were some really cute Kristoff and Anna moments, and they are like my ultimate OTP. So I loved this book very, very much. I thought it was brilliant and so well done. Then coming in at number 7, we have The Disasters by M.K. England. I don't own this one, but I absolutely loved it. This was another YA Circle Book of the Month book. This was actually the January book, so it's the first book I read with them when I got back from America, and it was just so unbelievably good. It literally followed this ragtag team of misfits who are complete disasters, obviously, and they have to try to save the world. And it's just a book that's completely full of sass. It's ridiculous, and it was a standalone, which is always really refreshing to get to read about a standalone science fiction book, because we just don't get those very often. So to really have this one be like one and done with great characters, a great plot, and just an overall fun vibe, loved it to pieces. Coming in at number 6, we have The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. This is the first book in the Elder Scrolls trilogy, also dubbed as the Malik books. This book was so much fun to read. I love Malik as a couple. I think they're brilliant, and this book came out right around the time that Shadowhunters was ending the TV show, and that like broke me. So getting to read this was so much fun. I loved it. I loved the story. I was actually really disappointed by how short it was. I was hoping for a much thicker novel. It's funny because I haven't read like a new Shadowhunters book in a really long time. I haven't read the Infernal Devices trilogy. I still haven't read a couple of the like bind-ups, and I don't really have any interest in Chain of Gold, but this one I jumped on. I pre-ordered it. I was so excited for it, and it was such a great book, and I cannot wait for the sequel to this one. Can't wait. So coming in at number 5 is a book I finished recently, and that is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. This is again another YA Circle book, so YA Circle's done really well this year of the books that I read. And this one was so much fun. I audiobooked this one, and I had a full cast, which was awesome. And I remember just sitting there, and I listened to a lot of it at work, and I was just sitting there, I was like, I need to know who the murderer is. I need to know what happened. I figured it out about halfway through the book, but by then I loved the characters so much. I loved the setting. I loved what was going on and how it was happening, that I didn't care that I'd figured it out. Normally that would bug me, but in this situation I was like, I don't care. Now I just need to know that I'm right. And then I think the best part is when I told people at the YA Circle dinner that I loved the book, they were like, Jenna, it's mainly a contemporary. How can you love it so much? And I'm like, no, it's like a contemporary with murder, guys. It's like a tame thriller, and it was great, and I loved it. I thought it was really well done. Breakfast Club meets Pretty Little Liars. Like, how can you not love that book? Okay, and now we have finally made it into our 5-star read. So everything from here on out I gave 5 stars to. So that's, yeah, literally 4 books on this list. I can't help that like last year I gave too many 5 stars. Now I haven't given enough. Like, it's a mess. So coming in at number 4, we have The Fire Chronicle by John Stevens. This is the second book in the Books of Beginning series. I gave the first book a 4 stars and the third book a 4 stars, but this one was a 5-star read. This one was so good. It really raised the stakes from the first one, and we got to see all of our characters. They were split apart in this book, so we got to see one storyline and the other one, and I loved both storylines equally. And then the ending for this one was just the biggest cliffhanger, and it shocked me to my core. And I remember being so glad that I had the third book to start immediately, because like I wouldn't have been able to cope if I had to wait to find out what happened in the third book after what happened in this one. This story is a middle grade series, and it's so much fun. It's just real chill, except for when it's not. And I didn't realize this until the end of Black Reckoning, which is the third book, and I read the acknowledgements, and the author was like, yeah, I took a lot of inspiration from the His Dark Materials series. And I went, oh, I see it. I see it. I see it all. I see how that is the case. And that's probably one of the reasons why I loved it so much. But this series, so good. I'm so glad that I finally read them. They've been on my shelf forever, and I loved them to pieces. But this one was my favorite. Coming in at number 3, we have Weapon by Lynette Noni. This is the sequel and final book to the Whisper duology. This one also shook me to my core. I remember I was laying in bed and I was reading it, and I got to a point point, I like gasped out loud. I was like, oh, no, surely that's not the case. And it was, and I messaged on it immediately and I was like, how could you do this to me? And it became a whole thing, and for the remainder of the book I was just like, my mind was blown. The book was so good. It was so fast paced and energetic, and there was so much happening, but it was really easy to follow. The only part that wasn't easy to follow was sort of right at the end of the novel when our main character does something that I would have liked more of an explanation for. But apart from that, loved the book, loved how it wrapped up the duology, love all the characters. I love one of the characters and I'm so mad about what happened to them, but you know, I'm totally over it. Coming in at number 2, we have a book from a series that I discovered this year. The series has been out for years now, but I only discovered it this year and I freaking love it, and that is The Inquisition by Tyron Matthew. This is the second book in the Summoner series. Oh my goodness, I love this series so much. So I read The Novice and The Battle Mage and I gave both of those 5 stars as well, but this one was definitely my favorite, which is weird. Like, I've had a thing this year for second books in series. Normally, you know, you've got the second book slump, but the 2 series that I read like in the entirety this year, the second book has been so much better than the first. It's been incredible. So I found out about this series through Sasha Alsberg. She and Tyron Matthew became friends, and she read The Novice and she was like, guys, you have to read this book, it sounds so good. And I was like, okay. But I went to Dimmicks and I looked up the first book and I read the plot and went, oh, you know what? Actually, I think I would really like this book. And I binge read it very quickly. I think I was over with like 2 weeks reading all 4 books because they're so brilliant. This one in particular I really loved because it is set a year after the first one, and it's very different in tone, it's very different in where our characters are and what they are doing, and the ending, it has such a cliffhanger, and I was like, I'm so glad that I have the 3rd book immediately because I needed to read it. I loved this series, but I in particular really loved this book because I loved how different it was from the first one and how much more intense everything got. And then coming in as my number 1 favorite book for 2019 is actually, like, I think it's the 3rd or 4th book I read for the year, so that tells you how much I loved it, and that is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Camara. This is the first book in a new Beauty and the Beast retelling series, and it is so good, you guys. It's amazing. I have a real thing with retellings in that I don't always love them. It's really like a I love it or I hate it kind of situation, and in this situation I loved it. I love our characters. I loved everything about it. I love that I have this really cool art copy. I got home from America and it was just in my room. It was a package that Bloomsbury sent me, and it's so good and I love it. I don't even care that it's so fat, but I could really see the Beauty and the Beast retelling part coming through, but through these characters who I love, and I just fell in love with the story. I fell in love with the characters and the setting and everything that was happening. I just fell in love with all of it, and I need to read the sequel like tomorrow. And there you have it. Those are my top 12 favorite books for 2019. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section below what some of your favorite books were from this year, because I would absolutely love to know. If you like this video, be sure to give it a huge thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing. Stay random. Bye.